Week 1 is officially in the books. These are my SEC power rankings entering week 2 of the 2024 college football season. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. We're brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Head over to prizepicks.com. Use promo code SECU at sign up to get a $50 bonus instantly when you play your first $5 or more lineup. Again, guys, that's prizepicks.com. Promo code SECU to get your $50 bonus today. Week 1 is officially in the books, and these are my SEC power rankings entering week 2 of the 2024 college football season. As we pull up each of my selections, we will start at number 16. And guys, there was a lot of shuffling in the power rankings after week 1, especially when you factor in what Vanderbilt did to Virginia Tech. It is rare you don't see that Vanderbilt V in the 16 spot, but this week that is the case. And at number 16, I've got the South Carolina Gamecocks. This came down to between Florida and South Carolina. But guys, I would argue, and I was in the swamp and watched Florida's beat down to the hands of Miami firsthand. Even with that, there is no one in the SEC that looked as porous as South Carolina. It's one thing to lose to a college football playoff caliber team, that being the Miami Hurricanes, and that is what Florida did. For South Carolina to inexplicably be down in the fourth quarter to Old Dominion, there is no positive way to spin it, guys. There is no positive spin to put on it. The offense is atrocious. The defense is a bright spot. Don't get me wrong. But the offense is atrocious. And year 4 of the Shane Beamer era, who knows? At this point, who really knows? It feels like it's off the rails already. South Carolina fans are as disgruntled as they've ever been in the Shane Beamer era. And after week 1, guys, you can make the argument, and I'm doing so here, that right now, the Gamecocks are the worst team in the SEC. And they come in at number 16 in our power rankings. And number 15, guys, I mentioned, I've got the Florida Gators. I was there in person, on hand in the swamp. That was an utter beatdown. I mean, from the jump, that game, unfortunately, was over. It was never in doubt. And give a lot of credit to Miami. That is a real college football playoff contender. I don't know that Miami, guys, loses a game this season. When you look at the transfer portal additions, Cam Ward was masterful at the quarterback spot in that game. But Florida's a mess. And it's one game, but after all the offseason chatter and the offseason hype and Billy Napier reassuring folks that this is his football team and things are going to be better, guys, not only did Florida get their brains beat in, they look like they took a step back, in my opinion. I mean, this team looks like it may be worse than it was a season ago. The play calling was uninspiring. The secondary is still atrocious. And you got run out of your own building. And I don't see, guys, honestly, how Billy Napier recovers from it. I don't see how he comes back from this. It feels like he is a dead man walking at this point. At number 14, I got the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Successful season opener against Eastern Kentucky. You love what you saw from Blake Shapen and Jeff Lebby's offense. This is a big one upcoming this weekend for the Bulldogs as they go to the West Coast and take on Arizona State. But so far, so good. A successful opener. And again, you love to see the success of the offense early. I think that's what State is going to have to do if they're going to get to a bowl game this season. At number 13, I've got the Arkansas Razorbacks. How about a freaking debut for Bobby Petrino, huh? 10 drives, 10 touchdowns. You go 10 for 10. I will say this. You don't want to overreact to what you saw in week 1, against Arkansas Pine Bluff. But I love what they've got at the running back spot. I love what they've got in Taylon Green. He's got some wiggle to him, and the guy can get outside of the pocket. He can move. He made some nice throws. It was a dominant performance. You're not going to overreact to a win over Arkansas Pine Bluff. But I mean, again, guys, 10 drives, 10 drives and a touchdown on each. You'll take that every single day of the week. At number 12, I've got the Vanderbilt Commodores, who pulled the shocker of the weekend, taking down Virginia Tech. Good for Clark Lee. Good for Anchor Down. Good for Commodore Nation. Diego Pavia, a dynamic player. You saw that in that ball game. He brings an all-new wrinkle to the offense, and I think Clark Lee taking over the defense, you saw the positives of that. They were active up front. Safety play was really solid. And you pull out the win over a Virginia Tech team that some people had in their college football playoff. Is Vandy going to go to a bowl game? Guys, I have no idea. But I tell you this, for a couple teams in the SEC, they are no longer a guaranteed win. That goes without saying. At number 11, I got the Texas A&M Aggies. They fall down a couple spots. Guys, if you kept realistic expectations of A&M, I think what you saw in week 1 is not all that surprising. But again, we saw way too much of the offseason hype. We saw way too much of the offseason hoopla. And I think Texas A&M got humbled in week 1. And that's not to say they're not going to have a successful season. But game 1 of year 1 of a new head coach, I said it over and over again. Game 1, year 1, are you going to be buttoned up enough to beat a legitimate top 10 team or legitimate top 15, however you feel about Notre Dame? The answer was no. You got to get things figured out offensively. Connor Wigman in the center did not play well. You got to find some weapons around him. Where are the explosive plays coming from? The defense is going to be stout. There's no question. But you got to figure things out offensively. I've got A&M at number 11 after the loss to Notre Dame. At number 10, I got the Auburn Tigers. Again, a successful debut. You take down Alabama A&M. Your freshman wide receivers in the wide receiver position as a whole really shines in this one. You're dominant on all sides. We'll see what happens when Auburn takes on some stiffer competition this weekend against Cal. But so far, so good. And again, you love to see Peyton Thorne building confidence early. Number 10, I got Auburn. At number 9, I've got the Kentucky Wildcats. Kentucky, over 300 yards of offense at halftime. Granted, they only played, 2.5 quarters, not even 3 full quarters in this game before weather forced a 31-0 decision. But I still feel good about Kentucky, guys. I love the roster. Brock Vandagriff had a pick early in the game, yes, but the offense was really, really solid. Defense was shut down. I still believe in this roster. I think Kentucky is a really sneaky team this year. I think they can get to 8 wins. I think they will get to 8 wins, and I've got them at number 9 in our rankings. And number 8, I've got the Oklahoma Sooners. I still just want to see more from Oklahoma. You know, they were dominant against Temple. The one thing that stands out, you go 1 for 12 on 3rd down. Is that concerning? It's something you want to nip in the bud. If it becomes a trend, then you become concerned. But I don't think it's something you overreact to necessarily. But I think these early non-conference games are actually really important for Oklahoma, just getting the kinks worked out before you get in SEC play. Jackson Arnold and Deion Burks is going to be one of the most fun combinations to watch this year. The defense is legitimate. They are stout. Just want to see more from Oklahoma in regards to early on in non-conference play. I got them at number 8 in my power rankings. At number 7, I've got LSU. Listen, I know some will have LSU further down. I am not overreacting to the loss to USC. I'm not doing it. I still think this LSU team can win 10 games. I still think this LSU team can get to the college football playoff. This makes the Ole Miss game a must-win in a couple weeks, but it's very doable, right? And we've seen LSU. I mean, I know it's maddening. How can you continue to lose season openers? I agree with you guys. LSU moving forward, listen, there's a lot to be encouraged about by Blake Baker on the defensive side of the football. I mean, that product on defense looked night and day different from what we saw a season ago. Offensively, you just got to open it up, man. I don't understand LSU being on their heels, not being the aggressor. It felt like USC was there to win and LSU was there not to lose. And that doesn't make sense to me. Kyron Lacey's a dude. You just got to continue to get in the football. And also your offensive line, I think, has got to step it up and put it in another gear, because that's a game that late I thought they could have taken over. They were not able to do it for whatever reason, running the football. You give it back to USC and Lincoln Riley and company, you pay the price. So I think, listen, LSU's done a great job of rebounding from games like this. I mean, they lost season openers 5 years in a row. They've been able to rebound. It is maddening, but I'm not willing to move LSU down much further than this, because I'm not going to overreact to one game for the Bayou Bengals. At number 6, I've got the Missouri Tigers. Ho-hum victory against Murray State. Guys, in a game like that, is there a whole lot to take away? Not really. I will say, though, guys, watching Mizzou from a personnel standpoint, they are just as good as last year, if not better, in my opinion. I mean, we'll find out more about the defense as we get into SEC play and they take on some real competition. That won't be for a couple weeks, though, actually. But dude, offensively, they're going to be so much fun to watch. I mean, Luther Burden is an electric factory. Theo Weiss is incredible. Mookie Cooper on the outside. They've also got the youngster, the speedster. I forget his name off the top of my head. Nate Noel and Marcus Carroll are going to be a fantastic. I think they could be, guys, the best running back duo in the conference by season's end. I don't think that's too bold to say. So again, ho-hum performance, but you can see it on the field. Also, some of their transfers on defense making big plays. Guys like Corey Flagg, McClellan, the kid from Florida, he made some big plays as well. So number 6. And also, too, by the way, how could I forget Toriano Pride with the big interception in week 1. So Mizzou, it feels like the personnel is there. The schedule is there. Missouri is on the path for the college ball playoff. I got them at number 6 in the power rankings. Number 5, I've got the Tennessee Volunteers. Yet again, ho-hum. You beat the absolute hell out of Chattanooga. Big-time matchup upcoming this weekend in Charlotte. The SEC Unfiltered Game of the Week. We will be there for the SEC Unfiltered Tour in Charlotte at B of A to watch this game between Tennessee and NC State. Nico was wildly impressive in week 1. I mean, the stats reflect that. Dylan Sampson in the running game, fantastic. The wide receiver position, you were electric there. Defense dominant. Again, I'm excited to watch this Tennessee team against NC State, but I'm still high on the balls, and I've got them at number 5 in the power rankings. Number 4, I've got the Alabama Crimson Tide. You know, we heard maybe there was reason for concern. Western Kentucky loves to throw the ball, and you got some questions in the secondary. Bama didn't get the memo because they were dominant in that ball game against Western Kentucky. A little bit of a different challenge this week with South Florida and kind of an interesting storyline after last year. That was probably the most befuddling result of their season, 17-3 in Tampa. I think they'll probably want to take that one personally and get some revenge. But Alabama in the 4 spot. There is no movement, by the way, guys, in my top 4 of what I had going in the season. All of these teams won and won big. So Alabama stays in that 4 spot. Number 3, got the Texas Longhorns. Most encouraging thing for them, the secondary completely shuts down Colorado State in the passing attack. And they've got a pretty solid passing attack as well. So, you know, Texas, the big game against Michigan this weekend, we'll learn a lot more. But Quinn Ewers was fantastic. They've got so many weapons at the wide receiver position, so much team speed. Even Arch Manning gets in on the action. So all positive vibes on the 40 acres in week 1. They stay at number 3 in my power rankings. And number 2, guys, I got the Ole Miss Rebels. And some folks will balk and say, why is Texas not at 2 and Ole Miss at 3? Guys, I had Ole Miss at 2 coming in. I love the roster. They're loaded top to bottom. I mean, you saw that in week 1. Yes, it's Furman. I'm not going to overhype a win over Furman, but guys, 76-0. And Jackson Dart having 6 touchdowns in the first half. I don't give a damn who you're playing. That is crazy. That's stuff you couldn't even do with a video game. So Ole Miss is rolling. They've got Middle Tennessee State again this week. Like we mentioned, probably the only team in college ball that actually plays a preseason. They're going to handle business yet again. A lot of fun down there in Oxford. And number 1, guys, the Georgia Bulldogs. The best team in college football. The most complete team in college football. The team that right now runs college football, and there is no debate about it. A thrashing of the Clemson Tigers. And I thought it was comical going into that game that people tried to make that game out to be some, you know, oh, Clemson could win this game. And the way the line came down, guys, this game was never in doubt. This game was never in doubt. If you follow along with Georgia, the personnel they have, yes, they didn't have Trevor Etienne, didn't matter, right? It was close for a half, 6-6. But the way Georgia pulled away in that second half, I mean, the way they just dismantle what'll probably be like a pretty solid Clemson team in the ACC. They got their own issues, but that'll probably be a pretty solid Clemson team. Georgia runs college football right now. They are the undisputed best team in college football. Are they perfect? I'm not saying necessarily they're perfect, but they are the best team for my money's worth, and they are easily the number 1 team in my week 2 SEC power ranking. So, guys, where do you agree? Where do you disagree? How would you power rank the teams of the SEC entering week 2 of the college football season? Guys, that's going to do it all for me. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. Until next time, guys, I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we'll catch you on the other side. Bye.